Hi everyone, Amy here with amyswares, and today I'm going to do a white pigment ink technique. Now this is the new Circle Cactus. This is one of the many new stencils that are part of the new release for June at a Colorful Life Designs. I have some pigment ink in unicorn white from Hero Arts, and I have some Distress Oxide colors here: Ripe Persimmon, Abandoned Coral, Seedless Preserves, and Wilted Violet. Now here's a photo of the finished card to show you the direction that we're headed, but the key here to this technique is that white pigment ink. So you might be able to get a little bit of color to show if you were to take Distress Oxide and go directly to a black cardstock, but it probably wouldn't be very much. Now if you did a dye ink, you wouldn't see it at all because that would suck right into the paper. But because Distress Oxides are hybrid and they're partially pigment, they'll kind of sit on top of that paper and also layer on each other. So the key here to get that extra little, essence of color is to start with a white base layer, and I'm doing that with this white pigment ink. So if you haven't done this before, it's super easy. As soon as I got done with this, I thought, man, I should have kicked the stencil over just the tiniest little bit and left a white outline, and then it would give it kind of a cool drop shadow. So that's another really cool effect that you can get when you kind of layer up your inks on top of a white base layer. So I'm just going to dry in between the steps just because I really want that ink to kind of build up in layers rather than kind of blend with any wet layer below it. So I got it pretty much dry, and now I'm going to come in with some blending foams and my wooden handles, and I'm just going to use those Distress Oxides kind of down in the sequence that reminds me a little bit of maybe like a sunset or twilight or maybe really super early morning. But I'm going to start with the orange and kind of work down into the purples, and you'll see you can actually get that color on top of the black. So I wanted to get kind of a cool silhouette look. I wanted it look like it was just a shadow silhouette of the cactus, and this was the best way I could think of to do it, was to put this white base layer down so that I could get a touch of that color to kind of pop up. I apologize, my alarm's going off. Get that color to kind of pop through the design and not kind of get lost in the shuffle on just a black cardstock. Now you will see in a moment, I'm going to pull this off and then dry it again and come back in for a second layer just to build up a little bit more saturation and color. Now it's not super bright, and in person even it's still quite subtle, but it is definitely going to show up more than if you were to just try and go directly onto that black cardstock. So think of different ways that you can do this technique with your stencils. I know I've done it in the past with florals, and I've done that where I've kind of kicked it off to the side and given it that white drop shadow, and it's such a pretty, cool, surprising look. So bust out that white pigment ink if you have it and layer it up with some Distress Oxides and see what sort of cool designs you can get with the stuff you have in your stash. So here you can see I'm just working the same order of colors, just starting from the orange down to the Coral Cabana, then into the Seedless Preserves and the Wilted Violet, just to get a little bit more saturation and color. But again, even in person, it's still quite subtle. It's not going to be nearly as bright as if you were doing this on a white cardstock. So here I'm nearly done with this bit, and then I do also let it dry before I move on to the final step. So I'm just going to show you this here real quick. Now I have to figure out the sentiment. Those are all storage boxes from Tailored Expressions. These are simple strips from Tailored Expressions, and I also have some other companies' strips that fit in them as well. They're my favorite storage solution, and I use these sort of sentiment strips all the time on my cards. You've probably seen them a million times. But what I've done here, other than, coming at it like a lumberjack and bending the paper because I'm just too rough, I need to just calm down, I white heat embossed on white cardstock. That way I could come in and custom color and create a perfect match for my card. Now here you can see I'm already struggling a little bit because you can see how bright this is on white compared to how not as bright it is on black, and that was bothering me a little bit. I felt like it was a little bit too bright. So what I did here was I took just the slightest moist wet paper towel and I tried to kind of activate that Distress Oxide just to kind of tone it down a little bit because it was too bright. So you can see I did that a couple times, just really trying to subdue the color. So I was trying to amp up the color when I was working on the black, and now I'm trying to tone down the pigment as I'm working on the sentiment strip. So I'm really just mangling this poor sentiment strip between a little bit of moisture and then also ink blending. And I think I bent it again, which you're probably about to see because I'm just too rough. I need to just calm down. But it ended up okay. I kind of toned it down enough where it worked for the design. And I did end up just kind of popping it up with a little tiny thin foam strip just to give it a little tiny bit of dimension. Now, I did want to pick a sentiment for, I can't remember if I did one for the inside of the card. Here I was just debating. That Stay Strong would have worked as well. I think I wasn't still very happy with the color, but I did end up going with it after all. So just kind of weighing my options here. I can't remember if I put a separate sub-sentiment on the inside of the card or not. I was just kind of fiddling back and forth, deciding what route I wanted to go. But next up, I believe that I bring in a white gel pen, or maybe I attach it to the card base. I can't remember. Oh no, here, I'm still fiddling. I'm still not happy with the color. It's been a little bit since I made this, so I'm doing the voiceover after the fact, and that's why I can't remember exactly the order that I did things. But here I have a white gel pen, and I'm just drawing some willy-nilly scribbly lines across as a border because I wanted just a little bit more white on the composition to tie in with the white embossed sentiment on that little strip. Now this gel pen was not behaving very well. I kept having to kind of go off the side and try and scribble it a little bit to get the ink to flow, but I swear it doesn't matter what white gel pen I use. I feel like I've used all the brands. They all do this at some point. Sometimes they behave beautifully. Sometimes they do this. So just putting a few little, scratch marks on there. It looks almost like barbed wire. I feel like it kind of goes along with the theme. And I have this thin foam strip, which I get from Amazon. I'll link that as well below with all the other products that I used in the video description box. If you expand and scroll down, you'll find those details. But I'm just going to put this in the lower right portion of the composition, and then I will attach it to a card base. I'm just using my T-square here to make sure that it's nice and straight. I think my little wonky lines around the edge were kind of messing with my eye a little bit, so I wanted to make sure it was nice and straight. And now I'm going to finish it off with some card bling. So there are 12 new colors in the shop this month for June. So be sure to check those out. Gorgeous new card bling colors and loads of new stencils. Use my coupon AMYFAN10 if you shop and save 10% on your complete order. I did go with this one color of bling. I felt like it pulled a lot of the different colors. It was almost like a purple sequin, but the finish on the front was really kind of giving off some of the other colors that I used, like orange and stuff like that. So it was a perfect fit. And I'm just putting it in an odd number, 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom, just in a little smattering across the design. And that's going to finish the card. So super fun way to use that white pigment ink and be able to use your colored inks on black cardstock. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. Like I said, I'll link everything below. If you follow my links, it really does help me out. And please do hit the thumbs up. I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.